Ever look at a price tag and just wonder why? You know, why is a cup of coffee $3? Or how can the price of gas jump all over the place week to week? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain. We're talking about the unseen forces, the two big ideas that set the price for, well, literally everything you buy. So let's get right into it.
Okay, let's kick things off with a puzzle. One you've probably faced in the grocery aisle. You see an organic Fuji apple, and it's, say, $2.75 a pound. Right next to it, a regular one is only $1.72. What's the deal? I mean, shouldn't it be cheaper? It feels kind of backwards, right? But stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to have the tools to solve this mystery all on your own.
So what's the secret? It all comes down to two super powerful invisible forces, demand and supply. I want you to think of them like the two blades of a pair of scissors. One blade on its own, kind of useless, but together, they can cut through anything. That's demand and supply. They work together to set the price.
All right, so let's grab that first blade of the scissors. Demand. This is our side of the story, the buyer's side. It's all about what we, the consumers, actually want, and more importantly, what we're ready to shell out for it.
Now, in economics, the word demand is a little specific. It's not just, oh, I want a new sports car. It's two things. You have to be willing to buy it, and you have to be able to pay for it. That second part is key. If you don't have the cash, you're not actually part of the demand, economically speaking.
And this whole idea of demand follows a super simple, predictable rule. We call it the law of demand, but honestly, it's just common sense. Think about it. When the price of something goes up, what do? You probably buy less of it, right? And when something goes on sale, when the price drops, you're more likely to buy more. It's that simple inverse relationship. Price up, buying down. Price down, buying up. Let's make this real. Check out this table for gasoline prices. When gas is pricey, let's say $2.20 a gallon, people are only buying about 420 million gallons. But look what happens when that price gets slashed to just $1 a gallon. Suddenly, boom, people want 800 million gallons. You can see the law of demand right there in the numbers.
Okay, this is a super important point, so listen up. We have to be careful not to mix up two terms, demand and quantity demanded. Quantity demanded is just one number at one price, like that 800 million gallons when the price is $1. But demand, that's the whole shebang. It's the entire relationship, all the numbers on this table combined. It's the whole story, not just a single snapshot.
All right, we've totally nailed the buyer's side. So what about the other blade of our scissors? Let's flip the script and look at supply. This is all about the sellers, the producers, the people making the stuff.
And you'll see a pattern here. Just like with demand, supply is about what producers are both willing and able to put on the market at different prices. But here's the twist. For them, a higher price isn't a bad thing. It's an incentive. It's a green light to make more.
And that brings us to the law of supply. It's pretty much the exact opposite of the law of demand. If you're a seller, a higher price means you can make more profit, right? So you're going to want to produce and sell more of your product. If the price drops, well, the profit isn't as good, so you'll probably supply less. It's a direct link. Price goes up, supply goes up. Let's jump back to our gasoline example. At just $1 a gallon, suppliers are putting out 500 million gallons. But if they see that price climb to $2.20, whoa, now they're willing to supply 720 million gallons. You see, the higher the price, the more they're willing to sell. That's the law of supply in action.
Okay, so we've got this standoff, right? Buyers want prices to be as low as possible. Sellers want them to be as high as possible. So how does anything ever actually get bought or sold? Well, this is where the magic happens. This is where we bring the two blades of the scissors together to find that perfect sweet spot.
So what really happens when buyers and sellers meet in the market? It's like this invisible dance. They don't sit down and talk it out. Their actions do the talking. And through this push and pull, they eventually land on one single price that works for everyone.
Okay, let's look at this table where we've put everything together. At a price of $1.80, you see the problem? Sellers are trying to sell 680 million gallons, but buyers only want 500. Too much gas. Now look down at $1.20. Buyers want 700 million gallons, but sellers are only offering 550. Not enough gas. But look right there in the middle. At $1.40. Ding, ding, ding. 600 million gallons demanded, 600 million gallons supplied. It's a perfect match. And that, my friends, is what economists call equilibrium. It's the market's happy place. It's that one magic price where what consumers want to buy is exactly the same as what producers want to sell. In our gas example, that equilibrium price is $1.40 a gallon.
And the cool thing is, the market is like a self-correcting machine, always trying to get back to this equilibrium point. If the price is too high, you get a surplus. Gas stations have all this extra gas just sitting there. What do? They have to lower the price to sell it. If the price is too low, you get a shortage. You see long lines and no gas signs. What happens then? Sellers can raise the price. These forces are always pushing the price back towards that balanced sweet spot.
But, the real world isn't a static table in a presentation. It's messy. Things are always changing. People's tastes change. A new technology comes out. A hurricane hits. So what happens when one of these outside curveballs comes in and messes with our perfect little model?
So far, we've just been talking about moving up and down the demand and supply lines. But sometimes something happens that shifts the entire relationship. The whole line moves left or right. And this is when things get really interesting. Think about old-school print newspapers. As we all started getting our news from our phones, our tastes changed. It wasn't just that we'd buy fewer papers if the price went up. We wanted fewer papers at any price. The whole demand for them just shrank. The entire demand curve shifted to the left. And the result? Fewer newspapers are sold, and the price for them is dropped.
Okay, now let's look at a supply shift. Imagine there's amazing weather one year, and the salmon fishing is just incredible. The fishing boats are coming back full. This means there's more salmon available at every single price point. The whole supply curve shifts to the right. And what does that mean for us? Great news. The price of salmon drops, and there's more of it to go around.
Okay, we've talked demand, we've talked supply, we've hit equilibrium, and we've even looked at what happens when things shift. We have all the pieces of the puzzle. So, are you ready? Let's go back to the beginning and finally solve the mystery of that pricey organic apple.
So here's how it works. Step 1. Demand. Over the last few years, people have gotten way more interested in organic food. This huge change in taste has caused the demand to just explode. That's a massive shift of the demand curve to the right. Now step 2, supply. Yeah, more farms are going organic, but it's a slow process. So supply is increased, but just a little bit. The supply curve shifts right, but not by much. So what happens when you have a gigantic jump in demand and only a tiny little nudge in supply? The new balancing point, the new equilibrium, ends up at a much, much higher price. And there you have it, mystery solved.
It reminds me of what the famous economist Alfred Marshall said. He asked, is it the upper blade or the lower blade of a pair of scissors that cuts the paper? It's a trick question, right? Because you can't have one without the other. You absolutely need both. And that's exactly like demand and supply. They always work together.
So the big takeaway here is that this isn't just stuff for a textbook. These forces are all around you, every single day. They're the invisible architecture that decides the price of your concert tickets, the rent for your apartment, even your salary. So now that you know how to see them, now that you have the tools, what other prices in your world can you suddenly explain?